Your dark side is the key to not wasting your life. No, have you ever stopped to think about how you're living your life? I'm not talking about your achievements or what's in your pocket, but the way you truly feel when you wake up every day. Have you ever felt that emptiness, like something important is missing, even when everything seems normal? The truth is, many of us spend so much time just existing and surviving that we forget to truly live. We wake up, work, solve problems, and repeat. One day we look back and realize that weeks, months, years have passed, and we ask ourselves, what did I really do with my time? This feeling of wasting time isn't just a nuisance, it's a warning, a call from our own selves saying that something needs to change. The problem is that in the hustle and bustle of daily life, we ignore these signs. Instead of seeking deep answers, we end up finding quick fixes, medications, distractions, and even excuses. But does that really solve anything? Carl Jung, one of the greatest thinkers in psychology, viewed this emptiness differently. He believed that living just to survive is the quickest way to lose our essence. And more than that, no medication can truly heal what stems from a life without purpose. But here's the good news. You're not stuck in this routine forever. There are paths, profound alternatives that reconnect us with who we truly are. Jung teaches us that the solution isn't outside of us, but within. It's in how we face our days, the meaning we give to our actions, and the courage to look beyond the surface. So, the question I want to leave you with is, are you living or just surviving? Are you investing in what matters or just letting time pass? Because life is too short to wake up one day and realize that half of it is lost. Today is the day to do something different, to look inside and ask yourself, what really makes me feel alive? It might be uncomfortable at first, but that's how transformation begins. Let's seek this change together, because your life deserves more than just existing. It deserves to be lived intensely, with purpose and passion. But why is it that so many of us fall into the trap of simply existing? Maybe because deep down we were taught to expect life to be simple, calm, free of difficulties. Who hasn't heard or even thought, if I could have everything figured out, it would be so much better? But is that really the case? Now let me share a truth that might seem uncomfortable, but is liberating. Believing that life should be easy is one of the biggest obstacles to living fully, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about now. 1. The illusion of an easy life. Have you noticed how many of us are constantly seeking comfort, avoiding challenges, fleeing from discomfort, believing that there's a magical path where everything will be easy and perfect? But here's the reality. The expectation that life should be simple might be what's preventing us from growing, conquering, and living something truly meaningful. Carl Jung said that the idea that life should be easy is a dangerous illusion. It's like building a house on sand, fragile, unstable, without a foundation. When we believe that everything should be easy, any difficulty seems like an insurmountable problem. And worse, we become less prepared to handle the inevitable challenges that are part of the human experience. The truth, though hard to face, is that life wasn't made to be easy. And you know what? That's wonderful, because it's the difficulties that shape who we are. It's the discomfort that challenges us, forces us to grow, and teaches us valuable lessons. Think about the people you admire, whether it's a friend, a mentor, or even a historical figure. What makes them special? It's not that they had an easy life, but how they faced challenges with courage and determination. Jung believed that accepting reality, the fact that life is hard, puts us on solid ground. When we stop running away from difficulties and face them as opportunities to learn, something incredible happens. We gain strength, our resilience grows, and suddenly things that once seemed unbearable become stepping stones to something greater. So, ask yourself, am I seeking an easy life or a meaningful life? Because the difference between these two choices is immense. One leaves us stagnant, stuck in a comfort zone that leads nowhere. The other pushes us forward, helps us discover our true strength and potential. And here's the invitation. The next time you encounter a difficulty, instead of thinking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What can I learn from this?" Because it's in that moment that you begin to turn obstacles into stepping stones. Life wasn't made to be easy. It was made to be lived. And living means embracing both joys and challenges, knowing that each difficulty carries a lesson. So let's stop seeking the easy path and start building the right path together. But what about when the difficulties aren't in the present, but in the past? When the weight of what we've already lived becomes so heavy that it prevents us from looking forward. It's easy to fall into the trap of seeking answers from back then, hoping to justify who we are today. But does that really solve anything? Let's explore this tendency to look in the rearview mirror and understand how it might be keeping us from a fulfilling life. 2. Fixation on the past. How many times have you caught yourself thinking, "If that hadn't happened to me, everything would be different"? It's normal to look to the past for explanations for what we feel or face today. But what if I told you that this fixation might be exactly what's preventing you from changing? Carl Jung observed that many people prefer to dive into the pains of the past, trying to find justifications for present problems instead of facing what's in front of them. It's like trying to drive a car while only looking in the rearview mirror. You can see where you've been, but you can't move forward without risking getting lost or crashing. This happens because looking back gives us a false sense of comfort. It's easier to say that the past defines us than to tackle the difficult task of transforming the present. After all, change requires courage. Facing current challenges demands strength and action, and that can be scary. Jung believed that this obsession with the past often traps us in cycles of self-sabotage. We keep reliving old pains, hoping that discovering the why will be enough to set us free. But the truth is, the past only has power over us if we allow it. Think about it. What's really stopping you from moving forward today? Is it that painful experience or the way you keep reliving and carrying it? The key to change isn't blaming what happened, but taking responsibility to build something different now. Here's the central point. The past doesn't define who you are. It may have shaped parts of you, but it doesn't have to be your prison. The only thing that truly exists is the present, and it's in the present that all transformation happens. So the next time you find yourself stuck in old memories, take a pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what can I do today to change my story? Because in the end, that's what matters, what you do now. Free yourself from the rearview mirror. The road ahead is full of possibilities, but you'll only discover them if you have the courage to move forward. The past is gone. The present is where your life happens. So how about starting to write it in a way that makes sense and takes you to where you truly want to be? Leaving the past behind is a big step, but there's something even deeper we need to face: ourselves. And I'm not just talking about the qualities we proudly display, but the parts we prefer to hide, the ones we avoid looking at because they scare or embarrass us. Now is the time to confront our shadow. 3. Facing the shadow. Have you ever stopped to think that we're not always who we'd like to be? And that often what bothers us most in others is exactly what we avoid seeing in ourselves. This can be uncomfortable, but it's also liberating. Because facing the truth about who we are is the first step toward real transformation. Carl Jung called those aspects of our personality that we repress our shadow. Fears, insecurities, flaws, everything we prefer to hide deep within our minds, whether out of shame, fear, or social pressure. But what happens to what we avoid looking at? It doesn't disappear. On the contrary, it gains strength in the unconscious and finds ways to emerge, often in a disordered manner. Think about that moment when you exploded with anger or made a decision you knew was harmful. Maybe it was your shadow taking control. Ignoring this part of ourselves doesn't eliminate it. It just takes away our power to control it. But here's the good news. Recognizing the shadow doesn't weaken us. On the contrary, it strengthens us. Jung said that when we bring something to the light of consciousness, we can start to shape it, understand its roots, and use it constructively. The shadow isn't just weakness. It also holds repressed potentials, courage, determination, creativity that can revitalize our lives. So how do we face the shadow? First, honesty is needed. Look at yourself without masks, without fear of finding flaws. Then, reflection is necessary. Ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Which part of me needs attention and care? Jung also showed us that observing others can be a powerful mirror. Often, what we judge or admire in others reflects parts of us that we haven't yet recognized. Paying attention to these projections can be the beginning of a sincere dialogue with yourself. So, instead of running away from your imperfections, embrace them. Instead of denying your flaws, understand them. Because deep down, we are a whole, light and shadow, strength and vulnerability. And when we integrate these parts, we become complete. Facing the shadow isn't easy, but it's necessary. Because it's in this encounter with what we avoid that we find our greatest opportunity for transformation. Accept your shadow, and you'll begin to see the light that has always been within you. Recognizing and integrating our shadow is a powerful step towards self-knowledge. But there's something even bigger we need to seek, because it's not enough to just understand who we are. We need something that gives direction to our lives, something that justifies our days and lights our path. Now let's talk about what truly drives us, finding purpose. 4. Finding meaning in life. What makes you get out of bed every day? I'm not talking about your obligations, but that greater force, that reason that makes everything worthwhile. If you still don't have a clear answer to that, don't worry. Many of us are living on autopilot, disconnected from something bigger, without realizing the impact this has on our happiness. Carl Jung believed that finding a purpose wasn't just important, it was essential. He saw the existential void as one of the main causes of anxiety and depression. And you know why? Because without purpose, everything feels superficial. We work, consume, go through the days. But inside, there's a feeling that something is missing. Jung gives us an inspiring example. The Pueblo tribe from New Mexico. They believed they had a fundamental role in balancing the cosmos, to help the sun, their father, cross the sky every day. For many of us, this idea might seem naive or even absurd, but for them, it was a truth so profound that it shaped their entire existence. And you know what's even more interesting? They lived free from anxiety, depression, and the vices that so often imprison us. While we, in the modern world, often feel lost, chasing things that never seem enough, they found peace and purpose. Not because their lives were easy, but because they believed their actions had meaning. What does this teach us? That finding a purpose isn't about grand achievements or external accomplishments. It's about giving meaning to what we do, finding value in our choices, and knowing that we're contributing in some way, to ourselves, to others, or to something greater. So how can we find our purpose? There's no magic formula, but there is a starting point. Ask yourself what truly matters to you. Is it helping others, creating something new, making a difference in the world around you? Start small. It can be something as simple as dedicating time to something you love or to someone you care about. Because in the end, purpose isn't something we find outside of ourselves. It's something we create, something we choose. It's the way we turn even the simplest tasks into acts that reflect what we value. And when we find that, something changes. Life stops being a sequence of days and becomes a journey full of meaning. Because, as Jung said, we're not just living for the sake of living. We're playing our role in the grand drama of life, and that's what truly makes us feel alive. Today, I invite you to reflect. What can give meaning to your life? It doesn't matter how big or small it seems. What's important is that it's yours. Because it's in this connection with what matters that we find true peace and happiness. Finding a purpose is the key to a fulfilling life. But what happens when we try to fill that void with things that don't have real meaning? The modern world offers us many distractions, but do they really satisfy us? Now, let's talk about the trap of a mundane life and the relentless pursuit of something that never seems to be enough. 5. The mundane life and the search for meaning. Have you ever felt like you're running non-stop but never getting anywhere? Like there's always something missing, even when you achieve what you thought you wanted? This is the reality for many today, an endless cycle of chasing success, status, social media validation, trying to fill a void that none of these can touch. Carl Jung saw this pursuit as a reflection of our disconnection from what truly matters. He believed that when we don't find a higher purpose, we fall into the temptation of seeking meaning in external things. And this keeps us trapped in a superficial life, an existence he called grotesquely mundane. Think about the pressures of the modern world. We're bombarded with ideas of success, the perfect job, the ideal body, exotic vacations, likes, followers. But do all these achievements really make us feel fulfilled? Or do they just mask the emptiness deep down? Jung warns us that this pursuit is insatiable, because no amount of money, fame, or validation can fill what's missing inside us. It's like trying to quench your thirst by drinking salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. But there is a way out. And it starts with a simple question: what am I really seeking? When we allow ourselves to stop and reflect, we realize it's not about what we have, but about who we are and how we live. A meaningful life isn't measured by numbers or trophies, but by the connection to something greater, our values, our relationships, and our contributions to the world. When we choose to align our actions with a real purpose, we stop chasing endlessly and begin to truly live. So here's a challenge. The next time you feel empty, resist the temptation to look for answers in something external. Instead, look within. Ask yourself, am I living according to what truly matters to me? Because the truth is this: the peace we seek isn't in achieving more. It's in being more connected, more authentic, more aligned with what gives our existence meaning. Jung teaches us that only when we stop chasing validations and dedicate ourselves to living a purposeful life do we find true fulfillment. And this is a pursuit worth undertaking, because in the end, what really matters isn't what we accumulate, but the impact we leave and the life we choose to live. So let's transform the pursuit of the superficial into a journey toward what truly matters. The change starts now with you. If the relentless pursuit of validation doesn't bring us peace, and finding a purpose is essential, how can we do this in a world where the old forms of guidance, mythologies, traditions, seem to have disappeared? We've reached the crucial point: how to create a purpose in a modern reality that doesn't always offer ready-made answers. 6. Creating purpose in the modern West. We live in a world that no longer offers ready-made maps to guide us. In the past, people found meaning in mythologies, religions, or shared narratives that answered the big questions of life. Today, in the modern West, those answers seem to have dissipated, and many of us feel adrift, seeking something that connects us more deeply to existence. But here's the transformative point. The fact that we don't have a ready-made purpose doesn't mean we're lost. It means we have the opportunity and the responsibility to create our own meaning. Carl Jung believed that this task, though challenging, was one of the most important in life. He saw the act of finding a purpose as a unique journey for each person, something that arises from what we truly value and what we can offer to the world. Think about it. What makes your heart beat faster? For some, it's faith or spirituality, a connection to something greater that transcends the everyday. For others, it's creative expression, art, music, writing. And there are those who find meaning in contributing to the community, helping others, building something lasting, leaving the world a little better than they found it. The important thing isn't where you find purpose, but that it's true to you. Because, in the end, we are the ones who choose how to justify our existence. And that choice is liberating. Of course, creating purpose requires effort. It's not something that simply happens. It's a construction, a process of reflection, experimentation, and courage. But it's worth it, because when we find something that motivates us, life gains a new dimension. Each day stops being just a routine and becomes an opportunity to live according to what truly matters. So, the question I leave for you is this: how can you create meaning in your life today? It doesn't need to be something grand or perfect. It can start with a small gesture, a sincere conversation, a creative act, a moment of silence to connect with yourself. Jung reminds us that we're not alone on this journey. We're all, in some way, seeking our place in the great drama of life. And when we decide to take on the role of protagonists, something incredible happens. We find not only purpose, but also a sense of belonging and peace that no modern distraction can offer. Modern life can be challenging, but it's also full of possibilities. It's up to us to give meaning to our days, to create a narrative that resonates with our essence. And you, what are you waiting for to start writing yours? Let's build a future together that's worth living. We've reached the end of this journey, but the true path begins now, with you. We talked about how a life without purpose leaves us empty, about the challenges of facing our shadows, and about the importance of finding meaning in a world where ready-made answers no longer exist. What's clear is that transformation isn't in something external, but within each of us. It's in the choices we make, the values we embrace, and the purpose we decide to create. Life is a unique opportunity, and every moment is a chance to write a different story. A story with meaning, with purpose, and above all, with soul. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these points resonated most with your life? What inspires or challenges you in this search for meaning? Leave your comment, share your perspective. This exchange of ideas can inspire others who, like you, are on this journey. And if you believe this content can help more people find purpose and live more meaningfully, give it a like and share the video. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to follow more reflections like this one. Let's continue together on this path. Because life is more than just existing. It's about living fully with purpose and passion. See you in the next video.